It's indeed a delight to bring you another episode of NAVDAC and Your Health, the TV program that intimates you on the activities of NAVDAC at protecting our health. I am Amanda Ugo. On today's edition of NAVDAC and Your Health, we will be starting with the importance and numerous advantages of breastfeeding, and this will lead to the commemoration of World Breastfeeding Week held recently by NAVDAC at the agency's office in Isolo, Lagos State. And in the second segment, we will be looking at drug abuse and the havoc it wreaks in the society. The Director General of NAVDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, will also be talking on parts of the efforts NAVDAC has made and is still making in the fight against drug abuse through the agency's Directorate of Narcotics and Controlled Substance. Breastfeeding is one essential responsibility that mothers owe their babies to give the baby a germane foundational factor for growth. But nowadays, most parents have neglected breastfeeding for substitute but extremely less beneficial means of feeding their babies.
We could do much better, of course, in terms of breastfeeding. Sometimes I wonder why it is even an issue. Breastfeeding is supposed to be normal for a child. We were breastfed for more than 2.5 years, my own generation. And some of the illnesses that are afflicting the younger generations are not afflicting us. Of course, other illnesses may come in because of one factor or the other. But we were breastfed because our parents know that it is primary responsibility to give that child a good start in life. Breast milk comes with a lot of immune factors that could prevent illnesses in the future. Again, a child can be ill. Malaria, if a child is bitten by mosquito, the child can have malaria, things like that. But in terms of making sure that the foundation is good, it is breast milk. Our parents were mostly agrarian, at least my own generation, which means they can do breastfeeding at any time. But now that we are young, the younger generations have to go to work, they can still breastfeed. My own children breastfeed their children, despite the fact they are working. Because you can still pump the milk and put it in a bottle, take it to daycare. This is reality. Not many parents are staying at home again. Unlike our own parents that are agrarian, they go to the farm, but the child is always there with them. But the most important thing is to focus on the milk. So long as that child gets the milk, the breast milk, the best thing is to, of course, breastfeed. If you're at home, there are some parents that don't work or that have kiosks in front of their houses and whatnot. They can breastfeed very well. If you come back from work, you can breastfeed. But if you are not there, the first thing is not formula. It's expressed milk from the breast. And why is that so important? I've said it. We are laying a good foundation in terms of the health of that child. So it shouldn't be a problem. Our parents have something that they were handed over to by the other ancestors and so on. But somehow we don't seem to understand that breast milk is the best. Does that mean that a child cannot be given a bottle? If the mother is very ill, there is nothing you can do. But these are all exceptions. It's not the rule, So unless the mother is very, very ill, then an alternative can be given. But this is an exception, not the rule. Somehow I don't know why it has become so difficult for young mothers to think of alternative. If it is cosmetics, God didn't give us a breast for cosmetic sake. It is so that our own children can be healthy. So if somebody is thinking cosmetics, think of holistic approach to life. the older mothers or relatives will have to come in, because sometimes a young mother may not have experience. If it doesn't come, oh, it doesn't come, so I will just use bottle. You have to, especially immediately after birth, you have to keep giving it to the child. The child will draw it out later. But again, the mother is supposed to be the focus. You cannot ration food for a child, for a mother. A mother that doesn't have money to feed herself cannot be a good producer of breast milk. So the mother has to be, the people around have to know that if a child needs this milk, then the mother has to be taken care of.
On Thursday, the 3rd of August, NAFDAC joined the rest of the world in commemorating the World Breastfeeding Week. The occasion gave room for an assemblage of relevant stakeholders to discuss breastfeeding and why it should be sustained against all seeming odds. The commemoration was themed Enabling Breastfeeding, Making a Difference for Working Parents. And among the presentations of the day was the one delivered by NAFDAC's Director of Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, Mrs. Eva Edwards.
The code is a document that was put in place in 1981, and since 1981 it has had to keep track with current realities. It has had to keep track with and pace with marketing tactics, and so we have resolutions that are brought forward by the World Health Organization, and we call them World Health Assembly resolutions. And what they try to do is to bring the code of 1981 in tune with current realities. So the code remains the code. It's read in conjunction with every subsequent relevant World Health Assembly resolution, and they all have the same legal status.
The benefits of breastfeeding cannot be overemphasized. Breastfeeding actually supports growth and development in the child because the nutrients in breast milk complement the immaturity of the organs, because what adults could cope with, complex nutrients, the breast milk has brought it to where the child can easily take it in and make use of it to grow and develop. You know, in terms of the mother, it protects the mother from various illnesses. It has been documented that some cancers, like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, are actually reduced with breastfeeding. High blood pressure, diabetes. Through breastfeeding, the mother can also, have very low incidence of those kind of illnesses. Then, the nature actually provides for, to a large extent, for the feeding of the baby. And these are what the mother is supposed to use in, those deposits that have been laid, that fat that have been laid down during pregnancy is what she's supposed to use, to breastfeed her babies. So if she breastfeeds, she releases those fats, and that helps her to control her weight.
The program you have been watching is NAFDAC and Your Health. Please do not go away. We have more information for you on the activities of NAFDAC at safeguarding the health of the nation. We'll be back right after the short break.
The first 6 months of a baby's life brings that first grasp, that first smile, that first laugh. For the first 6 months, don't give water. Breast milk has everything baby needs to grow strong and sharp. For the first 6 months, give baby only breast milk, no water.
Start strong. Zero water exclusive breastfeeding for better future. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF, Alive and Thrive, and other nutrition partners.
Beware. Fake or damaged drugs have put many people in serious health harms and have killed many others. But you can protect yourself by seeking professional healthcare advice when you feel unwell. Buy drugs from only licensed pharmaceutical outlets and make sure you check the packaging for poor condition, spelling errors, and unclear labelings. Also, check NAFDAC registration number, batch number, the expiry date, manufacture date and manufacturer's address before paying, and always collect a receipt. If you suspect a drug to be fake or damaged, report immediately to NAFDAC on 0800-162-3322 or send an email to sf.alert@nafdac.gov.ng. Protect yourself and your loved ones. This message is brought to you by NAFDAC with support from WHO.
Welcome back. You are still tuned to NAFDAC and your health.
The fight against narcotics and controlled substances have been on the front burner among the issues within the purview of NAFDAC as a regulatory agency. The reason for this is that the ruinous impact drug abuse can have on a nation could be colossal. The case of drug abuse was so endemic that the current DG of NAFDAC had to begin to tackle it head-on immediately she took over the mantle of leadership at the agency.
Drug abuse has been a concern for me since I began my job as NAFDAC DG. I remember very well my first 2 quarters in 2018. I was virtually running after tramadol. Because at that time, Nigeria was being rained upon with tramadol coming from India. And I was amazed. Within that first quarter also, there was the issue of codeine abuse. I remember the BBC documentary on codeine abuse, how our young children were going mad, how women were trading with codeine. It was a shock for me. So I was faced with 2 problems that I never envisaged: abuse of codeine and abuse of tramadol. For the codeine, we did a lot. Of course, the then Minister of Health banned the use of codeine, and NAFDAC sent a recall letter to all codeine syrup manufacturers in Nigeria. We were able to recover about 5 million bottles of codeine, which were put on hold at the different manufacturers' warehouses. It took a while for us to get over this because we asked the government to refund the manufacturers. Only 2 or 3 manufacturers were actually featured in that documentary. But finally, the government refunded the manufacturers that recalled their products, and which we have record of, and we eventually destroyed those millions of bottles of codeine in 2021. In terms of tramadol, it was a shock to me that we had so much tramadol in 2018. But I believe what happened, from the information that I gathered, was that the Indian government was not as strict on exports of tramadol until September 2018, or maybe 3rd quarter of 2018. And the unscrupulous importers seized the opportunity before that deadline to start raining tramadol on Nigerians and for our children, women, men, young people, old people to get hooked on tramadol. I remember that we got an intelligence report from the presidency that 31 containers of tramadol were coming our way in September. Our port inspection, I gave directive to our port inspection directorate immediately, and they went on vigil. They apprehended about 21 containers of tramadol. NAFDAC has a tracking system to know where the shipments are on the sea. As soon as the unscrupulous importers knew that our port was hot, that NAFDAC was present at the port, 4 of the containers were transloaded in Malaysia. 5 turned back and went to the Republic of Benin. And immediately we got in touch with our ambassador then, that was there, Ambassador Oguntuashe. And it was a long battle. It was a long battle. At a point, the case was taken to court in Benin Republic. Finally, the government of Benin Republic said that they should be destroyed in Cotonou. And we were fortunate to get those destroyed on December 21, 2022. That was 4.5 years of waiting, of working to ensure that tramadol, those containers of tramadol never see the shores of Nigeria, in order to protect the health of our people, the sanity of our people.
NAFDAC's fight against drug abuse under Professor Mojisola Adeye's leadership has continued to employ results-oriented, dynamic and proactive strategies, and of course, these strategies have helped to achieve exponential progress over the last few years. Yet, NAFDAC is not resting on its oars. As part of its efforts to nip the abuse of drugs in the bud, NAFDAC organizes stakeholders meeting on narcotics and controlled substances. Another such meeting was held again recently.
What we try to do is really to sensitize us on not looking at it as any other drug. Because some people look at it and think it is a drug of misuse. It's actually a drug of abuse, which most of you know, because it affects the central nervous system, and of course alters the way you think and you do things. And when you use some of these things, when you don't use them as prescription drugs, you tend to use them in excess. They have a very negative effect both on the user and to our own environment as a whole. And so at the end of the day, you see people doing quite a number of things. A lot of people tend to hide under that to commit a lot of atrocities, and they endanger a lot of lives. And so that's why we have this passion that while we know that this is a pharmaceutical product, we shouldn't negate your business. We also know that it's important that we control this. And the minute you stay away from proper control, then it means you're running a chance of having government to say we should cancel the use of this particular type of drug. So I want to encourage us, even as we continue to rub minds together, that this is a drug you shouldn't look at this product as any other drug. You have to look at it as a product that can affect lives negatively. And when we're talking about lives, it could also even affect yours without even knowing. So we need to be very careful about, if you have the opportunity to do whatever you're doing, you have to do things in this sector. You have to know that it is not just any other drug.
We are having this stakeholders engagement for our stakeholders, mainly for importers of narcotic medicines, for manufacturers of narcotic medicines, for importers of precursors, and importers of psychotropic substances that we regulate. And the most important thing is that we have to engage them so that we will be on the same page. We will understand NAFDAC regulations as it affects controlled medicines and other psychotropic substances. For them to understand that access is very, very important, but there must be a balance between access and control to ensure that these substances are not diverted to the illicit market for illicit.
Track and trace, otherwise known as traceability, has been a viable and quite productive tool used by NAFDAC in the drive to combat the use of narcotics and controlled substances.
When we talk about traceability, there is a need for us to be able to track NAFDAC regulated products, especially controlled drugs, from source. From the source, from manufacturing, right to the importers, to the distributors, to the retailers, right to the last person who takes these drugs, because it has a lot of advantages. First of all, we'll be able to track these products through the distribution system. We'll be able to have a system of recall. Have a system of recall when there are issues, regulatory issues, GMB issues with these products, we'll be able to recall. And it's also a global movement. And we, as Nigerians, we cannot isolate ourselves from the global scene. So there is a need for us to have this track and traceability. And it's also a policy. It is a policy of the federal government of Nigeria, which we are implementing. And we want to start the implementation in phases. We are going to have a pilot phase starting with a group of controlled medicines.
That is all we have for you on this edition of the program. We'll be back again next week with more updates on NAFDAC's activities, which is geared towards safeguarding the health of the nation. Join NAFDAC in the fight against peddlers of adulterated food products and drugs. Contact us if you have complaints, comments, or reports.
You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email reforms@nafdac.gov.ng or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded.
It is against the law to import, produce, distribute, or market unwholesome food products and drugs, as they pose great danger to the health of the Nigerian people. Let us jointly fight against these heinous crimes. Till we'll come your way again next week. Bye for now.